Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving into something totally wild. It's a highly complex conceptual framework called mythographics. Now, this system blends sacred geometry, exact mathematical frequencies, and esoteric spirituality all into one big package. So, whether you're already deeply familiar with alternative wellness or you're just kind of curious about how different belief systems try to decode the universe, this is going to be a seriously eye-opening journey. We're going to look strictly at what the creator of this project claims, breaking down how they've engineered these visual tools to supposedly interact with human energy. Because this source material is literally layered like an onion, we're going to peel it back step by step. First, we'll hit the hidden 95%. Then, the architecture of mythographics, the mechanics of resonance, real-world applications, the do-nothing process, and finally, we'll wrap up with safety and boundaries. All right, Section 1, the hidden 95%. To even begin to understand this framework, we first have to look at its core premise, which is all about how much of the universe we actually experience on a day-to-day basis. So the project's foundational claim is that our five senses and modern science, well, they only reveal a tiny 3 to 5% of reality. The creator argues that we rely heavily on this known reality in our modern world, but honestly, it's just the tip of the iceberg. The other 95%, that's framed as this massive, hidden, energetic layer made up of electric, electromagnetic, and magnetic fields. And the core belief here is that these unseen vibrations and resonances are constantly generating our feelings and deeply affecting our bodies, spirits, and souls. Moving right along to Section 2, the architecture of mythographics. Now that we've got a handle on that massive, invisible 95% layer, let's actually look at the tool the creator built to supposedly tap into it. So the creator describes this art as sacred geometry architecture, and it fuses four very distinct elements. You've got the medium, which is infinite sacred geometry. Then there's the sound, representing the melodies and music of the multiverse. The essence acts as the colors of our soul and rhythms of life. And finally, you have the action, involving symphonies of transformation and inner realm experiences. It's a lot to take in, right? But the point is, it's not just a drawing. It's a complex composite of all these esoteric ideas literally built into a single visual frequency. The absolute most crucial point here is that, according to the source material, these aren't just pretty pictures you hang on your wall. No, they are engineered conceptual tools. The framework claims that by combining visual sacred geometry with specific Hertz frequencies and spiritual guidance, these visuals actually act as a bridge to harmonize a viewer's subtle energy fields. Basically, it's pitched as a full-blown method for deep energetic alignment and self-discovery. Okay, Section 3, the mechanics of resonance. Let's dive in and see how all of this builds into a highly specific overlapping system of physical and spiritual mechanics. The creator posits that true resonance isn't just some abstract, vague feeling. Instead, it happens right dead in the center of this mapping. You've got the mathematical domain bringing in exact Hertz frequencies and water structuring, then the physical domain covering things like sleep enhancement and health kinesiology, and finally, the spiritual domain, which involves archangel guides and soul colors. True alignment, according to the source, only exists right at the exact intersection where mathematical precision, physical restoration, and spiritual guidance meet. Now, this is where the framework gets hyper-specific. It practically acts as a directory. The source explicitly maps exact mathematical frequencies to very severe physical and mental conditions. For example, it correlates 850 Hz directly with Alzheimer's disease and a mental program of feeling trapped, all supposedly under the protection of Archangel Chamuel. It also maps 970 Hz to eating disorders and 800 Hz to bipolar conditions. Now, to be clear, we are simply impartially reporting the source's claims here. We just want to show you the incredibly precise architecture of their belief system, where every single visual is signature mapped to specific mental programs and physical states. Which brings us to Section 4, real-world energetic applications. Having seen the back-end math and esoteric spirituality, you're probably wondering, what does the practical application of this actually look like in a daily routine? Well, according to the specific instructions for energizing your physical nourishment, you need a highly precise amount of time. And I mean exactly 5 minutes and 30 seconds. The framework claims that every specific geometric design carries signature mapped capabilities for water structuring. The idea is that by placing a glass of water, or even your food, directly onto one of these geometric designs for that exact 5 minutes and 30 seconds, subtle information field corrections are transferred directly into your nourishment. It's such a fascinating look at how highly esoteric concepts are given these rigid, almost scientific parameters in this practice.
But it goes beyond structuring water. The creator also suggests entirely passive applications. For instance, through what they call environmental anchoring, you can literally just place the art beneath your bed. This allegedly acts as a continuous, subtle information field generator to help facilitate deeper restorative sleep. Similarly, for effortless meditation, the user supposedly requires absolutely zero training, contemplation, or relaxation experience. You just focus on the visual and boom, you enter a meditative state and achieve inner balance.
The theoretical mechanics behind this passive interaction are mapped out in what the source calls the validation feedback loop. It kicks off with step 1, sensory input, which just means focusing your eyes on the sacred geometry. This supposedly triggers step 2, where the visual frequency interacts with that hidden 95% of reality we talked about earlier, causing a subtle information field correction. Step 3 is the resulting resonance in your body, spirit, and soul. And finally, step 4 is the therapeutic outcome, energetic rebalancing. So it's essentially presented as this automatic cycle triggered purely by your vision. And to back up these mechanics, the presentation actually includes testimonials from alternative health professionals. Take this quote from Eli Chan, a health kinesiology practitioner in London, who claims to utilize these exact tools in therapeutic sessions. Chan states that these visual frequencies operate on deep and refined levels, specifically to support sensitive, intuitive individuals and children. This really shows the creator's intention here. They want the framework to move way beyond personal art and directly into alternative professional wellness practices. That leads us perfectly into Section 5, the do-nothing process. Because with all this wildly complex back-end mapping, the archangels, the exact hertz frequencies, the specific physical conditions, you might be thinking, how on earth am I supposed to know which geometric frequency I actually need? Well, this is where the framework introduces a pretty fascinating twist. The creator explicitly instructs users to follow a do-nothing process and just totally abandon logic. Their anti-process flowchart dictates no analyzing, no thinking, no comparing, and absolutely no memorizing of frequencies. Instead, your one and only task is to step out of that 3% visible logic and rely entirely on resonance. The instructions say to trust your feelings, your stomach, your intuition, and your soul. The core belief is that the 95% hidden reality will automatically, naturally draw you to the exact visual frequency your current energetic state requires. Finally, Section 6, Safety and Boundaries. To wrap up our explainer, it is absolutely vital that we look at the boundaries and disclaimers the creator places around these esoteric practices. The framework is heavily rooted in a no-harm philosophy. The source text asserts that there is absolutely zero danger in using mythographics in your daily life. They claim there's no limitation and absolutely no place for fear here. It's framed purely as an opportunity to be happy, to connect with your soul, and to discover the story of who you truly are. However, we really must impartially note a very strict boundaries set by the creator. Despite those highly specific health correlations we mentioned earlier, like Alzheimer's or eating disorders, the source material includes a very firm medical disclaimer. It explicitly states that this presentation and the associated web store are strictly for educational purposes. It absolutely does not constitute medical or psychological advice, it is not a substitute for professional care, and there is no doctor-patient relationship implied whatsoever. The directive is crystal clear. Always seek advice from a qualified healthcare provider regarding any medical conditions. As we conclude this completely fascinating journey through the mythoGRAFIX framework, I want you to just take a moment and reflect. We've seen a system that attempts to bridge exact mathematical frequencies with archangels and passive visual art with physical nourishment. It really challenges the boundaries of how we perceive the invisible world. So what you should take away from this is a broader perspective on how entirely different belief systems attempt to decode the universe. The question I want to leave you with today is this. When exploring that hidden 95% of reality, where do you draw the line between artistic expression, esoteric belief, and personal wellness? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep questioning the reality around you.